Hey everybody, welcome back to 100 days of turning my hackathon idea into reality. Today's day 6, and last time I said that I was going to be doing a ton of research on what language to write my backend in, and I think today I have an answer. I've done a ton of research, and we'll get into it right now.
So you might be wondering why I'm even doing any kind of research on this at all. Well, everybody kind of readily agrees that AI tends to be a lot better done in Python rather than Java because of how simple Python can be and how well it works with data. And all of this is true, and I largely agreed with this even before doing all of this research. Out of talking with friends and everything, most of the feedback I got was I should just do this in Python and not even worry about Java in the first place. But that said, I have a lot more experience working with Java, and I think that my ability to code actually works with Java a lot better because I can think really algorithmically and do some pretty complicated stuff that wouldn't really be necessary in Python. And I thought maybe that could end up being something that would help me in the future, especially because Java tends to be a lot more resilient than Python is. Um, so I decided that instead of just saying screw it and doing it all in Python, I would at least take a look at whether or not Java would be a reasonable option to go with. And there's a couple of reasons for this, right? The first is that I have a lot more experience with Java, right? This is nothing new. I know this already. But there's also a lot of other stuff that I have to take into consideration. For one, I my lack of experience with Python doesn't just mean I don't know how to code in Python as well as I do in Java. It also means that I don't know how to port Python code over and integrate that into HTML as well as I do with Java. That kind of causes a few issues and means that in the future, when I'm trying to integrate everything together, it's going to lead to a lot more work for me and a lot more research. While I'm not particularly against this, it is a reason that maybe I would consider Java for my backend, just because I know how to work with that significantly more than I know how to work with Python. That said, though, I also need to consider the amount of work that it would take in order to use AI with Java in the first place. If it takes way, way too long for me to be implementing any kind of AI program using Java, then it doesn't really matter how long it takes for me to learn how to integrate Python into HTML. If I, like, at the end of the day, even if I don't have a front end necessarily, if I have a back end, at least I have something to show for my work, right? And so that's the main reason why I'm doing all of this research. But as you can see in the background, I'm going through a bunch of different articles and taking down some information about what they're saying between for the argument between Python and Java. A lot of these websites can be a little bit off-putting because they're slightly biased towards whichever one they support most. A lot of these websites are written by companies and people who endorse certain AIs, and as a result, they can end up being a little bit biased towards their own version. However, most of them tend to be at least somewhat reasonable with what they're saying, and in my opinion, as long as enough sources are adding up to kind of have the same information on both, I'm willing to put it down. It's not really a huge deal, right? So currently, I'm going through this website and just putting down some of the stuff that it's talking about with Python versus Java. One of the biggest things that I've learned out of this research is that Java actually isn't used as infrequently as some people might think. Um, that it actually tends to be used quite a lot in enterprise applications where the existing infrastructure is in Java, And so they don't want to have to, mix Java and Python together, and they want to continue using Java. Now, that makes it sound like enterprise level applications are just kind of too rigid and too worried about tradition to, be flexible, but there actually is even more support towards Java. And that support is something that I was really concerned about when I first started, and that is that Java is significantly faster than Python. Or I guess it's not that Java is significantly faster than Python. It's more accurate to say that Python is significantly slower than everything. Its runtime with larger data sets tends to be extremely slow. At least compared to languages like Java or C++. However, something that I didn't account for is that Python is a lot better for the immediate application of different programs, right? Maybe a program runs faster in Java, but coding that program and debugging that program is going to take significantly longer than it's going to take in Python. And you see that right here in this Glassflow website, where Java has really complicated syntax, and it's very, very rigid, and it makes for pretty long debugging, and it's really hard to handle. Whereas in Python, it tends to be significantly simpler, which makes it so much easier to handle, and it makes it a lot faster to just pump out different iterations of similar stuff, right? Um, I currently don't have anything going, right? I don't have like a background support that allows me to just integrate this Java AI system into it super, super quickly, right? I also don't have an entire team to be working with me. And so that's a really big plus for Python, right? I'm going to be trying to create something new, and that means I'm going to run into a lot of issues, which also means that any issues that I do run into have to be debugged, they have to be changed, and they have to be updated relatively constantly. And as it turns out, Python is just significantly better for that. Java is really, really good for, if you already have a working system and you're just looking to work with an entirely massive data set. But when you're looking at massive in the terms of, millions, billions of pieces of data, it kind of becomes irrelevant to what I'm trying to do, right? Maybe eventually I would end up having a ton of data that I would have to sort through, but as of now, I've basically got nothing, right? If anything, I would just input a sample test just to see if, as a proof of concept to see if this works. And so I really don't need the upside of what Java offers. And so there's really not a ton of reason to be using Java. Now, I know that makes it seem like my mind is already made up, and honestly, it kind of is. Like, I can't argue against that, but there are a couple of other things that Python is really good at that I do want to point out. For one, Python has a much larger AI support system. A lot more people do AI in Python because Python is just simply more accessible to more people. And so there's a ton more support there. Python, because you can do different, like multiple iterations of a program over and over, there's more iterations to just simply look at. There's more data to take, right? There's more information to garner. And so there's a ton more support for Python than there is for Java. And it also doesn't help that generally enterprise projects won't like share what they're doing, right? Like if you're working for a big Fortune 500 company, you're not going to be posting your code onto Stack Overflow, right? You're going to be under NDA. And so that makes it a lot harder. But that said, there is still tons of support for Java, just within enterprise systems, within these big data set stuff. and it's really good for that. In the end, most of these websites are saying that there really isn't a significant upside of Java versus Python. They're both reasonable for creating any AI programs, but it kind of just depends on what you're going for.
That said, though, I have come to my decision, and as expected, I'm going to be using Python for my backend. There's really no good argument as to why I wouldn't use Python. Everything that I'm trying to do kind of lines up exactly with what Python is good at, and I don't really need the upsides of Java at the moment. I'm not working with massive data sets, and I really just need to be able to pump out different iterations as I try to create and refine this program. And so moving forward, I'm going to be doing a lot of my work in Python. It means that I'll probably be looking at Python documentation a lot more than I would with Java, but I think it's honestly worth it, right? In the end of the day, I just need a finished product, and or maybe not even a finished product, maybe just a product in general, right? And honestly, Python is just going to be a lot better to do that with. That said, I am actually quite curious. I wonder if you all prefer this type of content where I just kind of have my work in the background and then I talk through what I'm doing. I kind of wonder if that might be a little bit better, a little bit more engaging, or if it would be preferred for me to just kind of have the work in the background, talk every now and then, but for the most part, just keep music going the whole time. Just kind of curious is all. For now, though, I will continue doing this kind of voiceover thing. I think it's pretty fun for me as well to kind of look back on my work and kind of narrate through what I'm doing and what I'm thinking and kind of what I'm looking at. And I think it's a lot of fun and it saves me a ton of time on editing, which is an absolute lifesaver because I really don't have that much time. But I also don't mind doing editing because editing is super fun and I get to just kind of do whatever the hell I want, throw big chungus in there or something every once in a while. Who knows, right? For now, though, that's the end of the video. That's everything that we kind of did for today. In the next one, I'm going to probably start my Python production or my Python coding, and I'll see you there. If you want to support these videos, feel free to hit the like button just because it, helps other people see the video as well. And it gives me some feedback as to whether or not you like this kind of video. And if you want to keep getting updates about future videos, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and that way you'll get more notifications about new videos coming out, or at least you'll see them in your feed, right? Whatever you choose to do. But yeah, for now, that's all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.